I'd like to ask for the blessing of our Father in heaven upon our study, that the study would be used to bring glory and honor to Him and to be a blessing on His name. And thank you, Bakama. And we want to pray for the Father's Spirit to be with us, that we would accomplish that. And while we're doing that, I'd also ask you all if you would pray for the scattered sheep of the children of Israel, the true children of Israel, the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that is scattered all over this earth, and that the Most High is awakening even now to who they are and where they've been, how they got to where they are and where they're going, and that awakening is ongoing. And when it is completed, Messiah will return, and so we want to ask for that as well. Now, as we are about to ask for these things, we always ask if there's any other prayer requests. We keep a log of our prayer requests, a booklet, or really a little notebook, and it has the prayer requests in it, and we pray over it. When we pray here, we pray over the prayer request so that the Most High will hear our prayer and that we will get blessings and we would be able to give testimonies as to the blessing that the Most High gave us in answer to our prayer. Oh, that's an answer to prayer then, Sister Isha. That's an answer to prayer, isn't it? We definitely did request that. I got you there, Bakaman. Yes, hang on. I should have waited before I gave it to you because it's in the top of the page. I would like to see if you could actually use the top of the page to get it. But it's all right. All right. Um, okay. So, yeah, the Hangouts link is in the top of the page. You should see it under the title Yahawashi Yah exists to save. You should see a link there, and that should be able to, if you copy and paste, yeah, or click, that should be able to get you to Hangouts. That's good. I wanted to test that. So, and if you're having any problems with the technology here in Pal Talk, which is not unusual, happens to us quite a bit, then you would find that Hangouts is a better uh, forum, a better platform in terms of sound and audio over there. And so you don't get as much problems over there. So we put it off over there. Okay. Yeah, you have to highlight, Sister Joseph. You have to highlight on the link and then copy and paste it into your browser. Usually that's how you do it. You highlight it on then you copy it and then you bring it to your browser and paste it in. Generally, that's how it works. Okay. Um, any other prayer requests? Thank you for the praise report, Sister Isha. Any other prayer requests before we get ready to pray? All right. So we're getting ready to go into prayer. Sister Isha, did you get into the Hangouts link already? Are you in there? Or maybe she's going in there. I don't see her there. Okay. Let, let's uh let's get ready to pray. Y'all can hear me, right? Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. Then let's get ready to pray, right? Thank you, Most High, for the goodness and mercy you continually showered upon us this day, this week. Since the last Shabbat, we ask that your Spirit will continue to guide us, that we might rest in peace here, but also that we might also learn and grow in your grace and your power and in obedience to your righteousness. In the name of the Messiah, we ask also that you would bless us with your Spirit as we go into your word today. Bless the scattered nation, your chosen people all over this planet, and also the prayer requests of the brothers and sisters who he have wrote down on this little booklet. We know you see them all. We bring them to your throne, asking for your mercy. In the name of the Messiah, we give you praise and honor and thanks for these things. Amen. Oh, you were coming in. Okay. All right. Okay. Let us look to the scriptures, and let's go first to a passage that we have read before many times, obviously, but uh, it's useful for us again here. Let us go to Gospel. I always say that. First John. First John, not the Gospel of John. First John, chapter 3. First John, chapter 3. First John, chapter 3. Yeah. First John, chapter 3. And I'm going to start reading at verse 1 of First John, chapter 3. And I'm going to go down from verse 1. Let's see, from verse 1 down to verse 10. First John chapter 3 from verse 1 down to verse 10. Behold, what manner of love the Father hath bestowed upon us, that we should be called the sons of Yahweh. Therefore the world knoweth us not, because it knew him not. Beloved, now are we the sons of Yahweh, and it doth not yet appear what we shall be. But we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. And every man that hath this hope in him purifieth himself, even as he is pure. Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. And we know that he was manifested to take away our sin, and in him is no sin. Whosoever abideth in him sinneth not, and whosoever sinneth hath not seen him, neither known him. Little children, let no man deceive you. He that doth righteousness is righteous, even as he is righteous. He that committeth sin is of the devil, for the devil sinneth from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of Yah was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. Whosoever is born of Yah doth not commit sin, for his seed remaineth in him, and he cannot sin, because he is born of Yah. In this the children of Yah are manifest, and the children of the devil. Whosoever doth not righteousness is not of Yah, neither he that loveth not his brother. Now, brothers and sisters, as we very well know, when the Father created this earth, he created it in a sinless state. Okay? I just want to say that again. When the Father created this earth through Messiah, he created it in a sinless state. There was no sin on the earth. There was no sin, which means, according to what we just read, there was no transgression of Yah's law. And when we say his law, we mean his commands, his word. There was no transgression in anything that he commanded to do. And in that state, there was life. There was no death. There was no sadness. There was no crying and mourning, and there was no pain in that state. Everything on the earth was in harmony. But in the third heaven, there had been disharmony. The disharmony was caused by a created angel that chose to disobey the word and command of the Father. Okay? And that is what the Bible calls sin. And he said the devil sinned from the beginning, which means he is the origin of sin. And that's what Messiah said. He was a murderer from the beginning. He is the origin of murder. Messiah also said that when Satan speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, which means he is the origin of lying. And when those things were manifest in the third heaven, there was war in heaven, and we know about that from Revelation chapter 12. Revelation chapter 12. Revelation chapter 12, verses 7, from verse 7 down to verse 12. Revelation chapter 12, actually from verse 7. Let's go from verse 7 to verse 13, please. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our Most High, and the power of his Messiah. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our Most High day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And when the dragon saw that he was cast into the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. The woman that brought forth the man-child is the nation of Israel. And when he saw that he was cast to the earth, he was going to persecute that woman that was going to bring forth the man-child. He started that actually before the nation of Israel even existed. He started that with Eve. That's how he started it. And through Eve, he used his deceptive power to bring rebellion to the earth. And because of that rebellion, brothers and sisters, we have death. We have people being born with deformity. People being born and having unnatural desires. People being born and having unnatural feelings to do evil things, to kill, to commit abominable sexual acts. People being born with these things because of sin. Not to mention the people that have been manifested in these areas through example, through things happening to them, through rape and molestation, through all manner of evil. And so it's gotten to the point on the earth where Satan's spirit of seeking for self, to glorify self in the face of the Creator, Satan's spirit of lying, Satan's spirit of wanting to be all powerful, that is manifest in the sons of men, is causing untold evil on the earth. Untold evil. Where it almost appears, in fact it does appear, that righteousness is being overcome by sin. It does appear that. But, brothers and sisters, of course, the word of the Most High shows us, and we praise the Most High for his word. We give the Most High praise for his word. And I don't want to, I can't say it any plainer than that. We can't give any other person praise. We can't give any other word praise. We give the Most High praise for his word. that he made manifest unto us in these last days. We give him praise. Because his word reveals to us all of the things I just said and much, much more. And it gives us hope and it shows us what's going to happen. And again, that's what prophecy is all about. The prophecies mentioned in this word shows us why things happened in the past, what is happening right now, and what's about to happen ahead of us. And we give praise to the Most High. And through the Messiah, the Bible says, we just read in 1 John, he was manifested to destroy the works of the devil. He was manifested by his Father to destroy the works of the devil. He was manifested in human flesh, but the spirit and character is the seed of the Father. And that was the warning given. Again, let's go back to Genesis chapter 3, where it all began. The Genesis, they use that term even today. The Genesis means the beginning, right? In the origin, the beginning. That's the English, the Latin term. Bereshith is the original term, but they use the Genesis. This is the genesis of the thing. This is the beginning of the thing. And let's go to Genesis chapter 3. Genesis chapter 3. And let's start Genesis chapter 3. We're going to start at verse 9. We're going to start at verse 9. We're going to go from verse 9. And we're going to first go from verse 9 down to verse 15. From verse 9 down to verse 15. And Yahweh Most High called unto Adam and said unto him, Where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, Who told thee that thou wast naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou shouldst not eat? And the man said, The woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. And Yahweh Most High said unto the woman, What is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, The serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. And Yahweh Most High said unto the serpent, Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed, and it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. So here we have Genesis telling us that the man, in his love for the woman, took fruit that he knew he shouldn't take because she gave it to him and he loved her. So he took that fruit in disobedience to his father. The woman was beguiled. She said she was fooled. She was deceived. The man wasn't deceived when he chose to eat that fruit. He knew what he was doing. But the woman was deceived. She didn't understand the power of deception the way she should have. She should have stayed by her husband. She shouldn't have wandered by that tree by herself to deal with Satan, but she did, and he deceived her. And as a sign of that, the father put a curse on one of his creations, that is the snake. He said, You're going to go on your belly. It's a sign of Satan. It's a sign of Satan. It's a sign of what Satan used in that regard. I'm not saying we should hate all snakes. I'm not saying that, though some people do. I'm just saying that is a sign of Satan. And then he said, I'm going to put enmity between thee and the woman, between thy seed and her seed, and it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. The seed of the woman is Messiah. And the enmity between Messiah and the seed of Satan is righteousness. I'm going to put enmity. Messiah himself is a representation of the righteousness. So in some cases, you could actually say Messiah is the enmity. But he said, I'm going to put the enmity between thee and the woman. It is the righteousness of the Father that's manifested in Messiah. Okay? Then he goes on to say the results of this sin, they would die. And how they would die, he explains here in Genesis chapter 3. Many people don't read this far, but I want to show you Genesis chapter 3 from verse 16 down to verse 24. From verse 16 down to verse 24. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. And unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it, cursed is the ground for thy sake. In sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground. For out of it wast thou taken. For dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. And Adam called his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all living. And unto Adam also and to his wife did Yahweh Most High make coats of skins and clothe them. And Yahweh Most High said, behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. Therefore, Yahweh Most High sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man and placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubim and a flaming sword, which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. So now, Genesis chapter 3, that was Genesis chapter 3, verses 16 to 24. Now, at this point, we can see the Most High, the Father, and the Most High, and the Messiah, Yahawashi, the time called Maka'al, they had to drive the man out, because after Asatan had induced them to rebel, the spirit of rebellion was in them. And now what Asatan wanted was for them to eat of the tree of life, so that sin would live forever. If Adam and Eve were to eat of the tree of life in that sinful state, sin would live forever. But you can see they did not eat of the tree of life, but they were driven out of the garden. They were kicked out. And then he put cherubim to protect the tree of life from them or any of their seed that should try to come there. Of course, obviously, the garden of the tree of life and the Garden of Eden is no longer on the earth. No longer here. It was taken away at some point. We suppose it was taken away at the time of the flood. It was taken away, so that the tree of life is no longer here. But through the Messiah, the tree of life again will be restored. Through Messiah, righteousness will reign on the earth again. Now, Eve was the original woman, but the seed that actually brought forth Messiah, who was manifested to destroy the works of the devil and overcome death, was the nation of Israel, his chosen people that had been chosen before the foundation of the earth, that were made manifest through the seed of his friend, Yah's friend Abraham, that he called my friend. Okay? And that's what we're going today when we go to Isaiah chapter 11. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 11. The Messiah is the hope, not only of the nation of Israel, and he is, as we're going to see here, he's the hope of the earth. For through Messiah, righteousness will reign again. The problem, brothers and sisters, the true, and this is the sad truth, the majority of the earth, really and truly, does not want righteousness. I'm just trying to be plain for you. The majority of the inhabitants of planet Earth do not want righteousness. They do not. Because there are a very handful of people that are under the direct supervision, control, and beckon of Asatan, human beings that are under direct supervision control and at his beck and call, that he rewards with earthly power. And in order for them to maintain that power, they must oppress the rest of the folks. Then you have other people that are under them and so on and so forth till you get to the middle class, then you get to the poor. When you get there, those people want righteousness. Why? Because they are suffering at the hands of the people above them. It's why you see on the dollar bill, you ever see this on the dollar bill in the US? The pyramid with the eye in the top. The pyramid with the eye in the top. So you have at that pyramid, you have a base, and then the pyramid goes and gets smaller and smaller till it gets to the top, right? That's us. That's where Asatan's kingdom is run. It's him, and then there's people under him. Then it goes all the way down till you get to the base, the ones at the bottom. Okay. And at the bottom is the poor. Okay, so everything is on top of them. Praise the Most High. Now, Messiah has been manifested to deliver those people. To deliver those people. All right? Now, let's read Isaiah chapter 11. Let's start at verse 1. Let's start. And when I say, by the way, before we go, I want to also say the reason I said the majority of the earth does not want righteousness is because the Bible showed us when we read in Revelation chapter 12, which we already know, is that Asatan deceiveth the whole world. He deceiveth the whole world. And let's look, let me just talk about that for a second. I'm going to use the United States of America as an example. Okay, I'm going to just use it, even though what I'm about to tell you is worldwide and thousands of years old in terms of its effect, in terms of how it works. But what I'm going to tell you, I'm going to use the United States. So the people that came here to the United States, right? When they came here from Europe, they were Indians already here. We know that. There were Indians already here. People of color were already here when the Europeans came here, right? Now, once the Europeans came and established their colonies, established actually towns, then cities, then states, and what we have now as the Eastern Seaboard was established as 13 so-called colonies, okay? And they established themselves as an entity. Now, at this time, there were people here of Indian descent that we would call Indians. And there, of course, there were people direct from West Africa also that were already here. Israelites all. But also there were a poor class of Caucasians from Europe. So you had the Indians, you had the people from Africa, then so-called Africa, and you had both of them Hebrews, and then you had the Caucasians that come from sons of Japhet that were poor. And these people at that time all worked together. And so the rich and the powerful ones that came from Europe had to figure out a way to control the masses of the people. So what they did is they created whiteness. Listen to me. They created whiteness. They called the people of European descent white. And they called the Indians brown or red. And they called the people that were darker black. And the poor people that they call white, they let them believe that because of their skin color, that they were friends with the rich. Now, even today, y'all know very well, if you run into somebody that's wealthy and that person is friends with you, most people want to take advantage of that, right? They think they could get something from the rich guy because they're around him. They're rubbing shoulders with him or her, right? So that's not new. That's been old. That's not anything new. So the poor Caucasians, though they were suffering as much as the Hebrews, they joined forces with their rich cousins to oppress the Hebrews. And they would get a little gain being on top of the Hebrews. I mean, even today, if you were to get a room full of Caucasian people and ask, any of you guys want to be black tomorrow? You won't get a hand to be raised. Because they already inherently know how we've been treated. Okay, and what's going on. All right? So that you have a whole large class of Caucasian people that don't even know they're being oppressed, they're being uh, uh, exploited and they're being used by their own cousins. They don't even know. That's why even to this day, that's why you can get a Caucasian man running for president that can promise the Caucasian people all kinds of things and tell them it's the brown people that's your problem. That's the brown. They've been saying that for hundreds of years, brothers and sisters. It's called divide and conquer. And so then you get the Caucasian people trusting their cousin, their rich cousin, and the president laughing at him because he's just using them like all his fathers did. And what's really sad about it, most of them hate the people of color, and yet at the same time, their own cousin is dogging them. So then you have a whole bunch of them that don't want righteousness. They don't want righteousness. They're afraid because they're ignorant. They're afraid. They don't want to think about the history of their people, and yet they understand they're not where their rich cousins are that's in power. Some of them will weasel their way in and try to get into that power structure, like Judas. But then there are some, like the ones that have joined the truth of this movement that we're in right now, that recognize their exploitation, recognize how the true Hebrews have been exploited, and they've been exploited with us, and they're poor, and they've been suffering, and they understand that something is wrong. And when they hear this truth, it strikes a chord with them, and they come to it. Those are the Gentiles that are going to be saved. Praise the Most High. And all of that is going to be spoken of in chapter 11 of Isaiah. So let's look at Isaiah chapter 11, and let's begin at verse 1 and go down to verse 4 to begin. Isaiah chapter 11 from verse 1 to verse 4. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. And the spirit of Yahawashi shall rest upon him, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge and of the fear of Yahweh. And shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of Yahweh. And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears. But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall slay the wicked. Praise the Most High. So, brothers and sisters, this is obviously talking about, it says a rod out of the stem of Jesse, a branch shall grow. Now, Jesse was the father of David. Messiah is called the son of David because Messiah is from the tribe of Judah, from which David the king was promised that he would be king. He would not fail ever. He would not fail to have a king upon the throne of Israel forever. Okay, and that his kingdom would eventually be forever. So this is talking about Messiah Yahawashi, the Hebrew Yahawashi, who the world calls Jesus Christ, of the tribe of Judah, of the seed of Jesse. And of course, Jesse goes back to the seed of Abraham, where you have the nation of Israel. And before Abraham, you have Adam. Promises in Israel to be made manifest. And so, as Messiah returns, he brings forth righteousness. And when he brings forth righteousness, brothers and sisters, everything that was dark is exposed. Everything that was crooked is straight. Everything that was uneven is made plain. When Messiah brings righteousness, he said, he shall reprove with equity, that's fairness, for the meek of the earth, and smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. Who are the wicked? Those that continue in sin. Those that continue in sin and don't want light shining on them for truth. That want to keep truth hidden because it exposes them in a negative way. Exposes them in a negative way. Let's continue. Isaiah chapter 11 from verse 5 down to verse 9. Isaiah chapter 11 from verse 5 to verse 9. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them, and the cow and the bear shall feed. Their young ones shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox, and the sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice's den. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of Yahweh as the waters cover the sea. Yes, brothers and sisters, this is a kingdom of righteousness. Righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. It is a kingdom of righteousness. And when you have a kingdom of righteousness, there is no sin. Therefore, there's no more pain, no more death, no more animals killing each other for food. Neither shall we need to kill animals for food. Shall not be anymore. He said the earth, he says it, they shall not, all the earth shall be full of the knowledge of Yahweh. It will again be in harmony. So that Messiah's return to establish his kingdom on this earth is the hope of the earth. I think you can see that pretty plainly, that the Bible is saying that. That Messiah, when he begins to reign, is the hope of the earth. And he, when he comes back, as the Bible shows us, sin's going to be destroyed, and all sinners and all liars are going to be destroyed. Let's take a look again at one of our favorite passages of hope in the scriptures, Revelation chapter 19. Revelation chapter 19. Revelation 19 shows this. Many parts of Isaiah are in Revelation, as we'll see as we continue reading. Revelation chapter 19, as we also saw that Daniel and Ezekiel were also in Revelation, as Zechariah was also in Revelation, so Isaiah also will be made manifest in the book of Revelation. Let's take a look. Revelation chapter 19, beginning at verse 11 and going down to from verse 11 to verse 16 to start us off. Revelation chapter 19, from verse 11 to verse 16. Notice what it says. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness doth he judge and make war. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of Yahweh. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. And he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Al Shaddai. And he hath on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings, or Malak Amalakim, and Lord of Lords. That is Adonai. Adonai means Lord. Adonai, Adonim. So Messiah is going to come, and it's not going to be any peaceful transition of power, let me tell you. It's not going to be any peaceful transition of power at all. It's going to be a violent overthrow of Asatan's kingdom. That's why Messiah said in the word, the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. You see what he means by that, brothers and sisters. And back in Bible times, whenever one nation was attacking another nation, they generally tried to go after the capital city. And first, for example, if they were coming to Israel, they would go to Jerusalem and try to take the capital city. That's like the capital of the nation. Like in the United States, it's Washington, D.C., in England, it's London, so on and so forth. So they would try to take the capital city to gain control of the nation. And with capital cities would also have large, very thick, high walls around them to protect them in such situations. And they would have gates that people would go in and out to come in and out of the city. And the gates can be locked with heavy locks and guarded to stop any intruders when it was wartime from coming in and taking the city, right? And so the gates would stop the enemy. So when Messiah said the gates of hell, hell is guarded by Asatan. Hell is this earth. That's what hell is. And is guarded by Asatan. Okay? And he's got a spiritual wall around it in sin and gates. But when this verse is saying is that Messiah's return will destroy those gates and destroy his sin. Spiritual Babylon will be destroyed. Okay? Revelation chapter 19, from verse 17 to verse 21. From verse 17 to verse 21. And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great Most High, that ye may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and of them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that had worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire, burning with brimstone, and the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the throne, which sword proceeded out of his mouth. And all the fowls were filled with their flesh. That's Ezekiel chapter 39. That's also representative of what we just read there in Isaiah chapter 11. Yes. So brothers and sisters, the beast and the false prophet, that's the Roman Catholic Church, Christianity. The false prophet are those that were founded by the Roman Catholic Church, which is the Protestant Church, which is Islam as well, founded by the Roman Catholic Church. Many people don't know that, but yes, that is the case. And so these are going to try to fight against Messiah, and they're going to lose. They're going to lose badly. They're going to be beaten badly. Now let's go back to Isaiah chapter 11. And we see here from what we've read, Messiah's return brings a state of righteousness, brings a kingdom of righteousness. But the kingdom of righteousness must first destroy sin, which is what we just read. Okay? So now let's go back to Isaiah chapter 11, and let's start at verse 10. Verse 10. Let's just read that verse by itself. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. So now, remember, the nation of Israel was made manifest or called into existence to bring glory to the Father, to manifest the Father's glory and his law of righteousness to the earth, to the Gentiles. They were made manifest so that other nations could see this nation that was following a God of righteousness, and that would cause other nations to also follow their God and want to come into the knowledge of the Most High. And as you can see, when we read earlier here in Isaiah chapter 11, he said the earth shall be covered with the knowledge of Yah as the waters cover the sea. That was the intent of the manifestation of the nation of Israel. But instead of the nation of Israel showing the knowledge of the Creator, instead of that, the Gentiles used the nation of Israel's fall to enrich themselves in temporal glory on the earth, in temporal money and power and oppression. They use the children of Israel and they exploit them for the purposes of gaining in this earth with Asatan's kingdom. But in that day, that will be reversed. As we talked about in chapter 10, the tables will be turned and righteousness will reign. But there are Gentiles, as we alluded to, that are on the bottom of the pyramid that recognize this is not right, this situation is not right, that they are using divide and conquer on us. You see, brothers and sisters, though, even if you recognize There are Caucasian people that recognize the divide and conquer tactic that's being used. But without the power of Messiah, even that knowledge is not enough. Without Messiah's perfect righteousness, even that knowledge will not help them. It takes more than that. It takes an acknowledgement of who the Israelite people are, an acknowledgement of who their God is. And then true righteous power of the Father will come to even a Gentile. But just understanding politically or socially that the divide and conquer technique is not enough. We need righteousness to overcome, brothers and sisters. All of us do. We cannot overcome anything in this world with just a knowledge of what's happening. The true awakening is not complete unless it is filled with Father's righteousness. Are you catching that? Testing 1, 2, 3. The true awakening is not complete unless Father's righteousness is made manifest, because that's who should get all the glory at the end of this thing. So there are going to be Gentiles that seek after the Hebrew Messiah, that understand what this wrong is that's going on, that's going to be made manifest, the true righteousness of the Father through Messiah, and they will come to that light. And this is what's happening right now as I'm speaking to you, because as this awakening is taking place and is being made manifest and is in full force coming right now, there are Gentiles coming to this truth. Okay? Gentiles coming to this truth. Let's continue. So now he saves the last part of this for the most glorious part, the restoration of his chosen people. Isaiah chapter 11, let's start at verse 11 and go in verse 12. Isaiah chapter 11, verse 11 and verse 12. And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh shall set his hand again, the second time, to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Amath, and from the islands of the sea. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Oh, brothers and sisters, the same ensign that the Gentiles run to, the Hebrew Messiah of the tribe of Judah, of course, his own people who were branches broken off from the olive tree are going to be brought back into their natural olive tree. And they're going to be brought back through Messiah's manifestation. And he says the second time he's going to do this. This is the second time. Well, let me give you a quiz. Here's a quiz. When was the first time he recovered his people? He said this is the second time. He shall set his hand again. So it happened previously to this. That's right. When he took them out of Egypt, or Mizraim, when he delivered them from the house of slavery in Egypt, and he sent Moses down there, that was the first recovery. The second recovery is going to be even bigger than that. As a matter of fact, the Bible says it's going to be bigger than that. Let's take a look at Jeremiah. Jeremiah, the prophet Jeremiah. The Bible says it's going to be bigger than the first one. The second recovery is going to be bigger. Jeremiah chapter 23. Jeremiah chapter 23, beginning at verse 5 and go down to verse 8. Jeremiah 23, beginning at verse 5, going down to verse 8. Notice what it says, Jeremiah 23, 5 through 8. It's talking about the same thing here. Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will raise unto David. See, in the previous, in Isaiah, they talk about the son, they talk about the root of Jesse. But here they talk about David. Same thing, because David is the son of Jesse. And I will raise unto David a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. In his days, Judah shall be saved. That's the scattered, dispersed of Judah. Israel, that's the outcast, shall dwell safely. And this is his name whereby he shall be called Yahweh, our righteousness, Yahweh Sadak. Therefore, watch this, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that they shall no more say. He used to say, but he's not going to say it anymore. They shall no more say, Yahweh liveth, which brought the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. What? That's Passover. He said, you mean no more say? Why? But, verse 8, Yahweh liveth, which brought up and which led the seed, that's us, of the house of Israel out of the north country. That's the land of the Gentiles. And from all the countries whither I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. See, the first recovery was just from Egypt, because the children of Israel were concentrated in Mizraim, in the land of Ham. But now, in the last days, this second recovery is worldwide, because the children of Israel are dispersed or scattered, as the Bible says, all over the earth. And so he's going to recover his chosen people from all four corners of the earth, which means there's going to be made manifest true righteousness from the truth we're talking right here on all four corners of the earth. Praise the Most High, Yah. North, south, east, and west are going to be represented in the kingdom. And that's what Messiah said. They shall come from the east and west, and they shall sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom. That's what Messiah said. Back to Isaiah chapter 11. And let's start at verse 12 again. Let's start at verse 12 and read from verse 12 down to verse 16. And just in case somebody didn't understand, the second recovery is a follow-up from the Egyptian recovery. It mentions it here in these last few verses here. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. And the envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. But they shall fly upon the shoulders of the Philistines toward the west, and they shall spoil them of the east together. And they shall lay their hand upon Edom and Moab, and the children of Ammon shall obey them. That's them Arabs. And Yahweh shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea with his mighty wind. Shall he shake his hand over the river, and shall smite it in the seven streams, and shall make men go over Rishah. And there shall be an highway for the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, like as it was to Israel in the day when he came up out of the land of Egypt. Yes, we're going to be being brought forth from all the corners of the earth. Gentiles are going to be bringing us forth that are converted. And we're going to come into the kingdom of Messiah of righteousness, and those with us. And all of that is going to represent a minority of people on the earth. A minority of people on the earth. Remember what he said. It's a remnant. He's recovering a remnant of his people. And we already saw from Ezekiel chapter 39 that of the Gentiles, there's only going to be a remnant that's going to come to this truth, a remnant of them. So we don't expect majority of any people to believe this truth, to believe the word of the Most High. The majority of the earth, the Bible says that the whole world is deceived, and only reason we are awakening to this truth is the Spirit of the Father. And you know, brothers and sisters, again, we like to bring this up. Has nothing to do with money or power or influence over other people. Has nothing to do with that. We're not trying to gain any man's money or control anybody or to exploit anybody. Nope. We just want to serve the Father in truth, in righteousness, in truth. Period. That's our only desire, to give glory to the Father. And brothers and sisters, that's the desire of all the saved people, to give glory to the Father. Their desire is not to beat their chest and rule over other people or to oppress other people. Even though the Israelite people are going to rule the earth, it's not going to be with the same oppression that the Gentiles exercised. The Bible says, envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. We won't choose any of the ways. The ways that Israel rules going to be in righteousness and truth. Praise the Most High. Praise the Most High. like as it was to Israel in the day that he came up out of the land of Mizraim, or out of the land of Egypt. Praise the Most High Yah. Brothers and sisters, we give praise to Yah because this is happening soon. The fact that we are bringing it forth right now with an awakened eye, and many people are understanding and awakening to the truth of the true Hebrew Israelite people, the true seed of Abraham, being ex-slaves, being Indians, being oppressed and afflicted. This manifestation of the truth is showing us that the time is coming very shortly. Okay? And of course, as we've been studying, as we continually say, there's a lot of things that need to happen. But what most people don't understand that study prophecy, even those that might have an understanding of the prophecy, all the things that need to happen will happen extremely rapidly, in rapid succession, once the 144,000 are sealed. When the sealing of the 144,000, which are will be the living men upon this earth that will perfectly manifest the Father's righteous character, and will awaken the chosen people that are scattered to the earth to the truth, and will give a final warning of judgment and woe upon this earth. When these men are ready, and right now we're here, we're all here, we're scattered throughout the earth, we're not in one place. The 144,000 will not meet each other in a solid body until they meet each other on the sea of glass. That's the first time they will be made manifest to each other. Might get 2 or 3 here and there, but we're scattered all over the earth. But the power of Yah will be made manifest through them. When they are seen, when they are manifest, when they are sealed by the Father's Spirit of righteousness, all the signs that need to take place will rapidly take place, very quickly. Everything will happen very quickly at that point. And so that's why right now our message is seek the Father. Seek the Father's glory through Messiah. Seek his truth through the Spirit of Messiah and the Spirit of the Father's righteousness. Seek the Father's word. Seek it for him, not that you might be glorified, but that Father might be glorified. Don't worry about money. Don't worry about how many people are going to follow it. Only concern yourself with the glory of the Father and his righteousness being made manifest in you. That's the only concern. And that, brothers and sisters, that spirit is growing. It's not growing in numbers of people. It's growing in power. It's growing in power. Remember, it's going to be a remnant. Remnant is not the majority. Remnant is what's left out of the majority. Okay? But this is taking place. It's continuing. And so we're going to continue in chapter 12 and chapter 13 on tomorrow morning by the grace of the Most High. We're going to continue in chapter 12, chapter 13. And what we just read here in Isaiah 10 and 11 is going to be manifest again in Isaiah. He's going to speak on this more than just this one time. And this is common in prophecy. Prophets repeat things. It's like they're sounding an alarm. And the more you hear the sound of the trumpet of the alarm, it's a loud sound, and you keep hearing it over and over again. Well, that's where the message from the prophecies comes. What you just saw in 9 and 10 and 11 is going to be seen again a couple of times in Isaiah. You're going to see it repeated in different ways, saying the same thing. The book of Jeremiah is like that. Ezekiel's like that. Zechariah is like that. Of course, Daniel's like that. And of course, Revelation is like that. You'll hear a message being repeated, reverberated over and over again. Okay? And for those of us that are blessed to receive the understanding of some prophecy, we got a lot more to learn, but it's a blessing to read that, to see that message being repeated, because what it's saying is giving you reinforcing upon your mind to be ready, because this is about to end. This whole thing's about to end. And just like it was in the days of Noah, when people just kept going and doing whatever they did day by day, good and evil, every day by day, just kept doing about their daily thing and making their plans. The flood just came one day, even though Noah had been telling them for years what was going to happen. He was repeating the warning over and over again until the day that he was shut up in the ark with his family that came with him for 7 days. And then the fountains of the deep were broken up, and water poured out the sky and destroyed every living thing on dry land. Same way is going to come when Messiah, what we just read in Revelation 19, is manifest. Same thing. People are going to try to be making plans, going to act like the plagues are nothing, and they're just going to try to move on with life. Suddenly, suddenly, it's going to come upon them loud, powerfully, overwhelming. It's going to happen just like that. But those of us that have been prepared, that have been seeking the Father's glory, it's not going to overwhelm us at all. We're going to be praising the Most High, and that's what we'll read about tomorrow. Let's have a word of prayer. Most High Yah, we just want to give you the praise, the honor, and the glory, and we continue to ask you to continue to pour your spirit of righteousness through Messiah upon us, that we might be made manifest as obedient servants of your kingdom. In the name of the Messiah, Yahawashi, we pray. Amen.